afternoon, this is Catherine. Welcome to Tipton Training Webinars. We now have Marcus White here with us today to do a webinar on the virtual consultation and remote monitoring of your patients. If you have any questions, please type in the question and answer box at the bottom of the screen, and Marcus will answer your questions at the end of the lecture. So I'll now pass you over to lovely Marcus. So over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for tuning in from wherever you are. So I'm going to talk to you today about quite a few modern 22nd century things that we've been working with recently. And we found that during and after COVID, they've given us a little edge, a little angle to enable continued communication and monitoring of our patients. Most of the products we're looking at today are under the umbrella of a company called Dental Monitoring. So just going to rattle through our aims and objectives to start. So we're going to showcase how the Dental Monitoring suite of products and what they are, and illustrate how they link together to form a complete solution to your practice for virtual communication and monitoring. We're going to make evident why, amongst everything else happening right now, these software tools are essential to the way you will run your practices and treat your patients in Dentistry 2.0. And we're going to present the practical aspects of setup and real-world applications of the tools that deliver value right now. And what I want to say is these aren't just gimmicks or toys, and for us they deliver efficiency, additional compliance, profit, and create space and time in our business. Bear with me 1 second. There we go. So, what we found is that the separation of face-to-face and virtual will define our ability to stay efficient in the post-COVID world. Any aspect of a clinical or preclinical process that can be carried out remotely ought to be considered and adopted. So as I said, these are not toys or gimmicks, and they allow you to replace either a part of an existing process or the entire part with an improved and augmented digital counterpart. And what I've learned in my 6 years of digital is digital always wins. On that note, let me just give you a little bit of background on me for those who've not heard me speak before. So I've been using intraoral scanning in my practice for over 6 years now. We started with a Trios and used it for restorative dentistry very successfully. We then had a curiosity to mill in-house and bought a CEREC. We then found that in our hands, the true milling of all restorations just digitally without any humans had limitations. So we accidentally developed our digital lab. We hired a ceramist, we bought some 3D printers, and we began to scan with the Trios and mill with the CEREC and combine them on the models. And our digital lab now provides every restoration we make in practice. And then we moved on to iTero scanners. And over the last few years, they've now, that's been our, we have 5. We've got 5 iTero scanners. So let me show you what I believe are the reasons that digital always wins. We've seen increased communication. So the ability to discuss cases with colleagues, discuss dental problems with patients at consultations and ongoing checkups, and to carry out dental triage of future problems. The way that you can use the scanner to visualize things and share that communication. So any intraoral scan you take can be accessed on a laptop. So my specialist endodontist can look at a case virtually, look at the CBCT by logging in remotely and treatment plan it and get a real idea of it before ever meeting the patient. So that's massive. So it's that the communication has more breadth and is more profound in its ability to showcase the patient's presenting condition. On the patient side of things, we're using WhatsApp and Instagram and email digital consent tools, which we'll talk about. And all of these, anytime you replace an analog process with its digital counterpart, you'll find that you save time, and then that drops down at the bottom of my table, which is increased profitability. So increased efficiency. Every digital process is faster and more accurate than its analog counterpart. That is no longer up for debate. It's a fact. And whether that be sending an email as compared to writing a letter, putting it in an envelope, sticking a stamp on it and taking it to your post box, or whether it's the intraoral scan compared to a traditional analog impression. The efficiency and accuracy are now a matter of fact. We also find increased compliance. It's one of my favorite aspects of digital, that any time you carry out anything, even an email, it leaves a little digital footprint, which is searchable and traceable. So if I want to track back on any conversation I've ever had on email, it's very easy to do. And if we then flip that onto the scanning side of things, we do digital consent with our scans. So I will show a patient the digital outcome well before we ever touch their teeth, because I believe that is true consent. So if that's an orthodontic simulation, or if it's a DSD, and what I say is that black and white words in your clinical records are no longer enough to evidence that you gave options. You need to show patients your options, and digital allows you to do that. And it also records it, because it's everything you ever do is saved to the cloud. So it means that you effectively record every key step of the dental process. Let's move on to decreased storage. So if you don't need models, you don't need paper consents, you don't need a room to store them in, or staff to process and organize them. So that saves space, which is very key commodity right now when we're having to rotate surgeries. And once digitized, you'll find you'll have additional space and additional time for a whole host of things. Then there's a decreased cross-infection aspect. Digital is clean, okay? If there's no physical impression, there's no transference potential. If we're sending an STL file over the internet waves, then it can't carry COVID, can it? So that's just another added benefit of digital. And the other thing we found, which is almost the core essence of today's lecture, is that digital minimizes attendance need, okay? If I can review someone remotely with some way, then it prevents them needing to attend, and that is one less body in my practice. And again, if I'm adding compliance to that recipe at the same time, then I see no downside. We also have increased upskilling of staff. So intraoral scanning and what I call the upload of your patient database, the commitment to scan every patient in your practice, can be carried out by treatment coordinators, hygienists and nurses. And again, video consults in the preclinical phase or Zoom can also be done by treatment coordinators when trained effectively. And all this boils down to increased profitability. And it's very common and normal for dentists to be concerned about investing in these tools and investing time in learning them. But what I've seen borne out through spreadsheets and my own success is that the wholesale commitment and adoption of digital systems always ends in higher profits. It ends in higher revenues. In one particular year, we saw revenue increase by 33%, when in the UK it was tracking at 1.8. And we've seen no change to the personnel required. So we've seen efficiencies in the staff, even when the revenues grow. And that's because, again, we're seeing less material waste, less staff to carry out an analog process, and everything able to be carried out at greater speed. Digital always wins. So here are 4 key products of the dental monitoring suite that we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to sort of show how they all knit together and augment whatever processes you're already carrying out in your practice. I want to make clear as well that whether they are virtual, some of these virtual techniques are not for every patient, okay? I want to inspire you to explore these products when you finish listening to this, and hopefully you've got a pen and paper and you're going to write down some things and have a Google and get in contact with some reps. But at the same time, don't think for a minute that we don't still do face-to-face when it's appropriate. And if we're talking about remote consulting a patient, there is a demographic and a product type that is perfect for. There is a demographic and product type that face-to-face is still the best way. Okay, so don't think for a minute that this is a panacea, but used in the right way will bring efficiencies and increase compliance to the things you already do. So we're going to talk about SmileMate, okay? So SmileMate kept me going through lockdown. It was a way to consult new patients in the millennial demographic who were still very keen to carry out Invisalign and composite bonding, and to be able to do preclinical dental assessment by seeing very good dental photography that was sent securely to SmileMate. And as I'll go to show you, SmileMate has built-in AI that recognizes occlusal schemes, decay, oral hygiene needs, and then almost automates a report for me that I can just tweak a little and send back to the patient, advising on what treatment type and costs are going to be appropriate to them. And right now that still runs on our website and on our Instagram feed, so we get little notifications of patients having pre-filled out these photos, and we can assess them well in advance of them ever attending the practice. I'll move on to the right-hand circle now about video consulting and how it's best used appropriately to add rapport, clarification on consent and treatment options, and really an ability to record the very important conversations that you might have with patients surrounding consent and treatment options. Towards the end of the lecture, we're going to talk about dental monitoring, which still blows my mind, and the AI in there can literally detect even oral conditions. So we will postulate an idea about eliminating any review of different patient types, because you could be monitoring them with dental monitoring, and how that could impact on your checkup model in its entirety. And finally, on the bottom left, we're going to talk about Vision, which is a DSD app which dental monitoring has, which is quite nifty. There are many out there, but we're just going to showcase that for a minute as well. So we're going to begin with the digital and virtual consultation workflow. And as I state, this is more than just a Zoom meeting, okay? We can all have a Zoom meeting. We're having one now, all right? But it's a complete end-to-end workflow that completes all non-clinical aspects of a consultation process to create a validated patient. Now, well before I invented or adopted this during lockdown, we had a validation process in our practice already, where any new patient would have an intraoral scan carried out by my treatment coordination team, and at that appointment, what would be important was that the patient would be given treatment options and initial costings, so we could determine two things. Is the patient interested in one of our treatment options, and can they afford it, okay? And only if we got two yeses would that patient then move to an appointment with me, which we termed the definitive treatment planning appointment, where I would add the clinical parts to the process, radiographic exam, clinical exam, and finalize the written estimate, okay? So we had a very robust validation system in place already, which meant that my time was kept to its absolutely most efficient, and meant that I don't write consultation notes for patients who don't want to have treatment. And that might sound like a silly thing to say, but before we invented this, we did it a lot, and I'm sure you guys do, okay? You spend hours on reports or consultation notes, radiographic reports on patients who've already effectively told you no thanks, all right? And that is silly, and as I'm going to point out, also unsafe in these times. So a validated patient is a true customer who wants one of your treatments and can afford it. In the pre-COVID world, carrying out a full clinical and radiographic examination on a new unvalidated patient was costly and wasteful. Now it's also unsafe and inadvisable. You must validate your new patients before any clinical aspects are added to the workflow wherever possible. So you get two yeses. Do they want one of your treatment options, and can they afford the treatment? And once you get those two yeses, you can carry on down the process, all right? So what you're going to see me paint out here is how a new inquiry will contact the practice, and they will be directed either automatically or otherwise to SmileMate, where they will send in some photos, and I will assess them and send back a SmileMate report. In that report, they will have some cost options, and typically in the millennial demographic, that demographic will want to pay for their treatment by monthly payments. And as such, we will send a finance link that allows that to be possible. Our preference is 24 months interest-free finance. So we'll send that link across, and then after filling that in, we'll know, depending on if they get a approval or a decline, whether or not we should proceed with the process. But if they get an approval, and we then move on to the consent process, which we also carry out remotely in its first instance. So we will send our info pack to them to read through. But because consent is a process, not an event, that will then be followed up with the video consult, which allows me to answer any questions that have come out of that consent pack that they either didn't understand or wanted further clarification of. And what you'll see later is that I'm quite good at looking at an existing process, separating it out into its essential elements, and then rebuilding it in an order that makes more sense to me and seems more logical. So everything you currently do, whatever you do in whatever part of the world you're listening to, the essential parts of the consultation that you do, I will do also, but I may choose to do them in a slightly different order, and that's all that's happening here. So to help patients understand a new process, you need to tell them. So during lockdown, they would get in touch and say, can I book in for a consult? Or when can I book in for a consult? So we had to tell them, well, actually, currently, this is how we do it. So I made a short video just with Keynote and a voiceover to explain how that was done. This is another little top tip in terms of very easy these days to record little videos that you can send to your patients on WhatsApp and then brings them up to speed on new processes you may be employing. Hi guys, it's Marcus here from the Courtyard. I'm going to talk to you about how we managed to consult our patients virtually during the lockdown. Let's begin. First, get in touch by Insta, email or WhatsApp. Then click the SmileMate link in one of our tabs and upload 5 photos of your teeth. That allows me to assess your teeth and advise on the best treatment for you. You'll get back a SmileMate report advising what treatment would suit you best and the monthly cost on our 0% finance over 24 months. Simply ask questions directly on Insta or WhatsApp and we'll have a chat so we can let us know if you're keen on moving forward. If you are interested in financing your treatment, we can send you a finance link straight to your phone so you can pre-approve your finances. We then send you an info pack to sign to make sure you know everything about the treatment. Finally, we set up a video consult to let you meet the dentist and ask any questions. Now we're ready to book you in. So please, just click on the links, get in touch. We look forward to talking about your treatment. So SmileMate, time to talk about that. My best friend through lockdown. So SmileMate has become our systemized entry point for all new inquiries to the practice. In particular for our Instagram inquiries, it forms a filter to separate out those followers who are bored in front of the telly and just want to chat from those who are seriously interested in treatment. And what we found was that if you're seriously interested in treatment, you take the trouble to take 5 photos of your teeth. Many of you might be thinking, well, can't we just get them to send photos by WhatsApp or Instagram because that's already a thing? But SmileMate is more than that because of the AI built into it and the added security that the platform offers. So this is what we would typically see on WhatsApp, which is still absolutely fine to decide what Invisalign treatment will suit this patient best. And that is, like I say, the main demographic for this model is Invisalign and composite bonding. However, as with anything, start with something nice and simple and who knows where it could go. Is it acceptable to to discuss treatment options around implants? Maybe not, but equally if someone has a missing front tooth, you're going to see that in a photo and you probably have a reasonably set price about what a missing front tooth costs when replaced with an implant. But the tip is start with the obvious easy things, the right demographic, the right treatment type. So here we go. Decent photos allow me to start a conversation. On the right of the screen here, you'll see what that conversation was. So I'm deciding what treatment plan, what treatment type will suit her best. And then I talk about monthly finance costs. And very quickly that she comes back with, how do I sign up? So that's an indication of just knowing how this demographic operates and how how they like to chat about things. And what I like to say is that pre-COVID, we had 2 communication techniques, email and face-to-face, okay? Email was cold and you've got to kind of write it in a particular way with kind regards and da-da-da-da. And then you've got face-to-face nice and warm, okay? Now we have what I call a blended communication options, okay? WhatsApp, Instagram, texting. It allows more direct, more informal ways of chatting with patients, which they like, okay? Now, that doesn't necessarily come easy. We've deliberately taken our patient database and put it on practice iPhones so that we can all, by the touch of a button, have contact with our patients in that way. But it's a step worth taking because patients like it. So good quality photos just from WhatsApp, okay? Let's see what SmileMate can offer. So photos are downloadable with a click of a button. You can do that on WhatsApp too, but the AI, okay? And for those of you who've not seen AI, it should impress. So the AI identifies orthodontic class, standard of oral hygiene, presence of decay, fractured teeth. This adds a medico-legal aspect to the process. So it's now above just marketing, all right? It adds a medico-legal aspect to the process, a compliance angle. The report includes educational aspects to begin the consent process in an automated way. So let's have a little look at some of those. Report templates on the left column can be saved for popular treatment types to include costings and next step suggestions for your patients. So once you've built this, it really does become a little automated machine for you. So it's a turnkey solution for all our new inquiries. You can then create points of access around, where patients normally find you. So on your website, a link on your Instagram profile, and ultimately make it the single entry point to you and your business. Once the link is generated, you can also copy it to your favorite note app in your phone, and then create standardized response templates that include the link, and use these in email, text, Instagram, or WhatsApp. That little infographic there on the right, that's just what the code does. So once you've got your link, that pops up on whatever method you send it, and it looks slick and it's branded. Okay. So that's just a little video of me pasting it into an Instagram, which I won't show you, but it's nice and easy. And this is what you get back. So you can see how with either of these patients, we can start a conversation about treatment, okay? On the left, obviously, we already know that porcelain of some description is going to be needed, whether you're going to stay on porcelain or look at some alignment as well. On the right-hand side, that patient was interested in bonding. Once there is some mild misalignment, we usually use the term that if teeth are largely aligned, then they are adequate to be considered for composite bonding. If they were too misaligned, then we have a set note template that talks about that and says that we will need to align you before we do composite bonding. So here's a little video showing you some of the detail. Right, guys, so let me show you how cool this is. So this is the dashboard inside SmileMate. It's branded for you, and this is a patient we're going to look at. This same girl that we've seen do the video consult with, this is the first contact we had with her. So go to see photos, and we see that they are amazing. Transpired she's got an iPhone 11 Max Pro, awesome, but that is like amazing. But then you can rattle through the others as well. And this patient's obviously interested in Invisalign, and we're very much able to decide convincingly that she'll be an Invisalign light package, and therefore can price her up accordingly. So some fantastic compliance, medical legal records, preclinical records, all good. Now, there's AI in this that notices things. So it notices she's got a lower overjet, it notices she's got an overbite, it notices she's got upper crowding and very mild lower. If we click to that section, it advises the patient in the report that you send her about that, and even cross-references with her own dentition. And then if you go to treatment options, it'll teach her about aligners. All of this stuff's editable, but the stuff that's already in it is awesome. I haven't messed with any of this. If they note some recession or some hygiene issues, then they'll advise professional tooth cleaning and things like that. So it's really very educational as well. And then what you do is you go to share report, and you pick a template, which I have messed with. So let's just do this, and you can click this so that it does a video consult button. Yeah, we're in business. I was just clicking the wrong thing. Right, so we click this drop down, and we go to Invisalign Light here, and then we can have a little read of what I've written. In short, I highlight how long it takes. Say there's two packages, but she's had the light package. Price points here, and a key sentence. I look forward to hearing from you regards your interest in the treatment, and if you'd like to explore the finance options. And then I tell her that we're going to get in contact by WhatsApp next. So keeping it super friendly, and then clicking this off. So that's cool. Feels easy, feels professional, feels scientific, and using technology to augment what you already do. And that's the point. You know, it shouldn't be clunky. It shouldn't feel like something deliberate. It should add value to things you already do. So we then move on to the finance link. So we use Braemar, underwritten by Close Brothers, for our patient finance. They have a nice little app that sends links by text or email. So again, very quickly after that, we can fire off a little link to in the comfort of their own home. They can explore affordability. So most investment over £1,000 in any sector comes with finance options and monthly payments. So my advice is to make this your business default setting. Finance links allow patients to confirm affordability before either party commits more time to the process. And what I found again is that the millennial demographic is comfortable with that. They like the fact that they can know that early on in the process. And then by the time they meet me, they're just excited to get going. And if the cost tweaks a little bit because I found additional hygiene needs or any other aspects, or we're adding bonding, then you can just make an amendment to the finance very easily, and it's still approved because there's a range of affordability that's been pre-approved, so to speak. So it's okay and expected by the patient that there may be a slight fluctuation in cost by the time they meet the dentist. Another tip to make discussion of costs easier, both on the treatment coordination side and the dentist, is to try and get close to cost packages. Okay, Invisalign is very easy to do that for, as is composite bonding because it's unit costs. So, but in as many treatments as you can, try and have a generic sort of all-inclusive start point. You know, if you want to use the word range, do that, but at least, you know, give them something to start with. And for us, that was leaflets. Leaflets helped us early in this process to talk about costs up front, and though they might still change if other things are added, you should still know what a crown or a veneer or an implant costs in your business. And that knowledge should be easy for your treatment coordinators to discuss too. So even for implants, we've recognized that there are common things people come for. One missing back tooth, one missing front tooth, 3 missing back teeth, all of their teeth, those kind of things. Finance calculators allow you to mess with deposits a little bit, and they're really easy to show patients. And there are a demographic who are happy to pay in full. And guess what? After lockdown, that's also the millennials, because they've not been able to spend any of their money for about 3 months. So you'd be surprised, but or maybe you won't, but the patients we've seen since returning are often saying, I'm happy to pay in full. When that happens, then we simply confirm affordability by, they just say that they're fine with the costs. And then when we schedule the appointments, not at the end of treatment, but when we schedule the appointments, that is when at our practice patients pay in full. I.e. when we hand over the time in our diary, that's when the payment is settled. So then we move on to the remote consent. So I've been wanting to do digital consent for a very long time. I hate paper, but this has given me the final push we needed, and maybe it is for you guys too. So and for me, DocuSign seemed the biggest player in this industry. So for those who have not come across it, it is the world's leading e-signature platform. And so it means we can do away with pens, paper, clipboard, shredder, scanners, and the processes involved. You know, and from a, obviously, COVID point of view, I don't want people touching pens and paper in my practice anymore. So the basic package is £30 a month, but there are additional costs dependent on volume. But it's a beautiful thing. You just upload your existing consent documents via PDF. You attach a little label that the patient then signs, or dates or initials, and then ping them off. When they return, they are saved to the cloud, which for me is the most important thing. I'm often asked, you know, about any of these additional digital records, can you attach them to your existing software? And I say, no. I mean, you can download from DocuSign and save them wherever you want, but why would you? So I am now comfortable with records being kept in safe clouds, be that an Apple Cloud, the most expensive company on the planet, DocuSign, the world's biggest e-signature app, or other clouds that I'm comfortable with. I like to know the company's going to be around a long time, so I can trust it in that regard. I want to know about its end-to-end privacy and security, but that's that's the way it is. And going back to the analog counterpart, it was fine for us to keep, no one ever said, how am I going to put my study models of the patient in the computer? It was fine for them to be in a cupboard with a badly locked code, and so forth. Okay, so security, even digital, is safer, in my opinion, than the analog counterpart if you give it a second thought. And fundamentally, if it's good enough for banks, legal firms, it's good enough for dentistry. Santander is one of DocuSign's biggest clients. Little video.
Step into the Agreement Cloud. Agreements are everywhere. From 100-page contracts to one-click consents, business runs on agreements. But in a world gone digital, old-school agreements make things needlessly hard and slow for everyone involved. It's time to agree better. With the Agreement Cloud, you can get agreements done faster, friendlier, and at less cost. Prepare an agreement with just a few clicks. Automatically include all the right data from your other systems. And allow users to customize the contract according to customer needs. Send, track, and sign agreements from practically anywhere, at any time, using the world's #1 e-signature app. On completed agreements automatically, collect payments, update other systems, trigger downstream processes, and more. Manage agreements in a safe, smart way with a single secure place to store and search agreements, and use AI tools to identify hidden opportunities and risks. By automating how you agree, you can do business faster, greener, with less risk and lower costs. And you can make things easier for you, your employees, your customers, and your customers' customers. Let's agree better. Together. DocuSign Agreement Cloud.
So everyone, I'm just going to walk you through DocuSign in terms of how you send it and what it looks like when you receive it. So we're going to find my Invisalign console, which is right at the top. We're going to tick it. We're going to say use. Then we're going to put in my name here. That's the one. And we're going to send it. Bingo. So now we're going to have a look when it hits. There it goes, there it lands. Let's have a little look at what it reads like. So these little initial bits you've got to do on every page. I've done that so that basically you've got to read every page. So if you read down, at some point there'll be some tick boxes like for consent to have photos taken. Sign that bit already. As my signature is pre-populated because I've done this before, but you get instructions, sign it, and if you forget to tick any box, you're forced to go back to it at the end. Dated. Super easy. And then when you finish, it's going to tell me I can't finish here because I've forgotten certain bits. But then ultimately it'll let you finish the document and send it. All right. Thing of beauty, super easy, and then I get notified when it's been received on my phone as well. So that's DocuSign. Yeah, so if it's not filled in, then it'll send it to the patient every 2 days. You get notification when it's back. You can search by patient in the cloud for that document or any of their documents. It's just, yeah, fast. So let me move on to video consulting. So another of the dental monitoring suite of products is this very, very nice little video consulting app. So before we look at that, we're going to talk about what the purpose of a video consult is. So once you've done the other bits we've talked about, it adds rapport, it adds an emotional connection. So I like to try and say, you don't want to be the telemedicine dentist with a white coat and the stethoscope. You know, it's your opportunity to bring your personality into the process, and answer remaining questions or seek for further clarity of whatever they've seen in their consent pack. So in the message, when I send the DocuSign, it says, please make a note of any aspects you want to discuss further at your video consult or at your next meeting with the dentist. So as we all know, consent is a process, not an event. It is not simply a form you sign. It's an ongoing process that started with us talking about treatment options and ends with us refining that down to a singular option and then talking about the risks and benefits of that. And we season the digital process with humanity, and hopefully we get the patient to trust, like, and respect us. So on the right, you see a very nice little image, which is called the virtual waiting room, which you're going to see more of now. Hi guys, just showing you the dental monitoring video consulting platform here. So one of the cool bits is that you can edit the domain name here to make it look like yours, so it looks a bit personalized, which is, I like. That's the link you paste. And the coolest bit, which I'll show you in another video in a minute, is that you can edit what the patient sees in their digital waiting room. So here's a picture of my reception I've put in. Here's a couple of messages you can put in about how much you can achieve with a digital consult. Here's our waiting lounge. And here's just a picture of me and one of our nice patients. So they get a good feel for the place over and above that which you could achieve with Zoom. And I think that's gives it an advantage. Hi everyone, so I'm here with my camera crew. I've got William on filming, he's 7, and I've got Charlie who's ready for an Invisalign consult on the right. Okay, we're going to show you how easy this video consult platform is on dental monitoring. Okay, so come over here. Look at the screen, not too close, that's lovely. So I'm just going to do this invite by a text message, and I'm going to send a little link to my own phone. Just watch how quickly that little thing sends at the bottom. Tick, blue. Right, let's go to Charlie, see what's happened on his phone. Whoa, you 2 quick cheers. He's just gone to his text message. Here, down here, I'll take over. Right, stop for a minute. Yeah, we're good. So put your name in, Charlie. We're all right here.
We're doing this.
Check in. And now stay on the screen.
Yeah, this is our first like.
Okay, so slowly scroll here. So welcome to your virtual consult at the courtyard. I will start the video call in a moment. With access to high quality photographs of your teeth and a digital face-to-face conversation about your needs, you'll be surprised how much we can accomplish before you ever return our beautiful practice. If you are making this video call on iPhone, please make sure you change privacy settings. There's me and my friendly team. And down the bottom, that's it. So that's the waiting room. Now go back up. I think you're still waiting for me. So over on mine, what happens is I've got a little indication that says my mate Charlie is ready for his Invisalign consult. Okay, so I then just do start call, ping, and now back to William's going to film us having a really good Invisalign consult here. So film me, film the screen here. Okay, right, we're going to get some echo. That's just the way it is. But so Charlie, nice to meet you. Can you tell me a little bit about what treatment you're looking for?
I really need to Invisalign. I know it's lockdown and that, but I really need to Invisalign as soon as possible.
Well, that's fantastic, because with our new virtual consult tools, we are able to deliver that to you and get you ready for treatment. So let's have a chat about what you need. Thank you very much, Charlie. So that's one platform. Another one is Zoom. But what I want to show you here and get your creative juices going is how I've made it more than the sum of its parts. So what I've done here is I've got a Zoom call, and when I started doing Zoom consults, I found that I completely forgot my own script because I was taken out of my consult environment. I was in my son's spare room, and I couldn't remember what I'd normally say. So I jotted down things on a piece of paper so I'd remember. And I thought I can do better than that. So I did a little keynote prompt screen for myself, and then I screen shared that. So just like I'm screen sharing this webinar now, I screen shared the keynote screen. So what you're looking at is me, the patient, and the keynote screen all on Zoom. Now, it's important that I tell you that in both face-to-face consults and any other, I record what we do, okay? And in order for me to have consent to do that, I use a key phrase you'll all have heard many, many times in your life, which is it okay if we record this call for training and monitoring purposes, okay? Now, I had a revelation, I don't know, in the last year, that if car insurance companies thought it important enough to record what I said, then I thought the thing I did for a living at work was probably more important than car insurance, and I should probably be doing that. And again, just because it wasn't normal or in our comfort zone doesn't mean it's not right, okay? So as of anything in the non-digital world, just have to get consent, okay? So I ask, is it okay if we record this consult for training and monitoring purposes? And everyone says yes, because they've heard it about 5 times that week already when they've called different things on the phone, all right? So I would encourage you all to decide for yourself if you think the things that you say to your patients are important. So off we go. So, yeah, tell me, Charlotte, we're going to do our Zoom consult today. Can I just check with you that you are okay for us to record the consult for training and monitoring purposes?
Yeah.
Good. So tell me about your day. You just come back from school?
Yeah, I've just been trying to set up the school ready for the children to come back.
Wow, is it hectic?
A bit, yeah.
You're using loads of sellotape to like define areas and stuff like that?
Sort of, yeah.
That's the first thing I bought.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard.
What are you planning? How are you going to manage it?
We've just got different areas and having to keep social distancing between children.
So that's called building rapport, right? So we're just talking about a day and what have you, and then we'll move on to some other bits. How did you hear about us? So there are all the key questions I would normally ask. Had you heard of Invisalign before? And though in this case, even though I've seen your photos, tell me in your own words how I can help. I always ask patients that question. Tell me in your own words how we can help. I don't want to put words into their mouth. I want them to tell me what they don't like. But yeah, even though I've seen your photos, tell me in your own words how we can help. What bothers you and what's made you sort of seek help, so to speak?
I had braces in the past when I was younger. I had your typical train track sort of braces. But unfortunately, the dentist told me back when I was 13 that I wouldn't need to wear a retainer forever. Yeah. So I didn't, and my teeth have eventually moved back to some sort of position that they once were. So that's the main thing that I'd like to correct.
Yeah. I often get asked when people get their head around recording consults, doesn't it make you feel nervous about what you're saying and that kind of thing? What I like to let people know, it's a bit like dental photography, all right? The minute you start measuring or recording anything, you get better at it because you know you're being recorded and monitored. So the minute you start taking photos of your clinical cases, guess what? Your standard raises, right? So it's the same here. So the fact that you know this is going on, you ask the right questions and you like when you hear the right answers back, etc. So that's the why now. So you've said you've had a couple of consults before. It's obviously increasingly been bothering you. So, yeah. And then, yeah, how did your conversation with Georgina come about then? So I'll just skip on, but I'll show you some other cool bits. So then we talk about digital scans, a ClinCheck, and again, through the magic of screen share, I can show her what a digital scan looks like. Digital scans of your teeth, and then we push that magic button to show you what they'll look like straight. They're the only sort of physical records we need, and then they go off to design the case, which I'll show you there. So this is called a ClinCheck, all right? So this patient's got some more pronounced problems than you, but it's a nice one to show you how, what Invisalign can achieve. And it will also help you visually see some of the things you'll have read about in the consent. So when we press the play button, all the magic happens.
Yeah.
And on the lowers, whoa. It's going to have some fun. So even a case as complex as that is 30 aligners, all right? As I talked to you about on Instagram, so you see now, as I said, it's part of a very robust and comprehensive consent process, and we're recording that she's visually seeing these things, she understands them, attachments, IPR, all covered, etc. Even what do I look like with aligners, we've covered that. And these are not difficult things to do. I know we're all very busy, but the thing about a tool is once you make it once, then you can use it forevermore. So that's Zoom 2.0. Hopefully that's got you thinking. So only now in our process is it appropriate to invite the patient to the practice to add the clinical parts to the process. I know she wants the treatment options. I know she can afford it. We've covered consent. Let's bring you in. So what we've seen here, this is my very famous deconstructed apple crumble picture. And what it's showing you is that this apple crumble has got all the parts of an apple crumble in it, but they're just spread out in a different place. And if you take a spoonful of it, it still tastes like an apple crumble. And same with the consultation process, okay? I've reordered the elemental parts into an order that makes more sense to me, that is more logical, more efficient, but still tastes like a consultation once we've added the clinical parts. I'm not going to tell you what those clinical parts are because you're all dentists, okay? But they are radiographic and clinical and record-keeping parts of that process. So in this experiment of this remote consultation workflow, by the time I got back to work on day one of non-lockdown, I had 33,400 invalidated treatments in approved finance, all elements of the workflow completed by myself on my laptop in lockdown, okay? And with all the preclinical photos that we've shown and all the AI that went with it. So that was a success. So I'm going to spend a couple of minutes talking about vision, and then we're going to move on to dental monitoring, which will continue to blow your mind. So vision is an instant chairside DSD. Currently has to be done face-to-face, but I think any part of a visual understanding of a proposed treatment plan is essential, okay? So I don't care how you do it. With composite bonding, we still often just do a demo at the practice and take lots of photos of that. With obviously you can do a digital DSD, you can do an application of things on, but the more on the face, almost better, because that's what patients understand. So a key part of the digital consent process, a patient shouldn't be agreeing to something unless they've seen what it can look like on them. And then you get to do this kind of thing with a little slider. This is whitening, maybe a little bit of alignment. And it gets emotional commitment, okay? And that's a key part of the patient journey and should not be overlooked. And these images are emailed by default to allow your patient to do your marketing for you, but also are part of the consent process. They now know what they're hoping to achieve from treatment. And you can do a little before and after and send it on. So, dental monitoring. So let's summarize. So far, the dental monitoring portfolio of products has enabled new inquiries to become validated patients before they attend your practice. The separation of the aspects of a process that can be completed virtually and has offset unquantifiable efficiencies, all right? Because you're not having patients in your practice who are then going, nah, I'm all right, thanks, don't worry about it. So the addition of AI, the addition of automation and patient engagement enhances the service we could give our patients without it, all right? It enhances what we already do and makes us better. Makes us better than we were before, and that's important. So dental monitoring is how an iPhone is combined with a scan box to take excellent photos that are subjected to really high level AI and monitor typically aligner treatments. But what we're going to talk about in a bit is how you could use it in other treatment types as well. So I'm going to play you two videos, both patient focused. One is about what aligner monitoring and does for patients and how it allows us to reduce their attendance to the practice. And the second one is how the scan box works. And what I want you to get your thought process moving about is that what review appointments could we do digitally that we normally do face-to-face? And if that was recorded and subject to AI, how might that enhance what we currently do?
Ready to start scanning? Let's go. Standing in front of a mirror, start by inserting your retractor, one side first, then the other, with the arch down under your chin. Bring the scan box up to the retractor. You'll hear a click as the scan box snaps into position. During the scan, audio and visual instructions will tell you what to do with your teeth. Bite down on your back teeth. When you hear this, bite down and keep your teeth together. It may help to swallow as you bite down. Open your mouth slightly and keep your teeth apart. When you hear this, open up and keep your teeth about a finger's width apart. Open as wide as you can. When you hear this, open wide and keep your teeth wide apart. In addition to instructions on tooth position, you will also be asked to move the scan box. Side to side scan. You will be asked to scan from side to side. To make sure to get a good view of all your teeth, scan all the way to each side. It may help to move your head slightly in the opposite direction. Up and down scan. You may be asked to scan up and down. Tilt the scan box all the way up, then all the way down. Once you're done with your scan, separate the box from the retractor. Use your thumbs to keep the retractor in place, then pull on the box. Now you're all set. Have fun on your DM app.
So there we have it. We also had my daughter Martha come say hi, which is routine. She normally either plays guitar, needs me to put a sock on, or in that case was telling me there's a dead bee outside. So that's I'll sort that later. So what you've seen there, guys, is how DM and aligner combine to make you more efficient. Okay, and whilst there is a cost for the scan and a cost for the retractor and the box, they are minimal, and what they give back to you in clinical time, it adds up to lots and lots of additional efficiency and profit. So let's look at the AI and the type of things it can spot. Is there an unseat in the aligner? Has an attachment fall off? Is the attachment discolored? Has it been worn? Has anything broken or cracked? So amazing levels of AI. But we're going to talk about some of the underpinning concepts. The monitoring of a thing improves the outcome of a thing. We talked about that earlier, didn't we? So the fact that, so firstly, millennials love it. You might wonder if millennials like putting scan boxes in. They love it. They're fantastic at it. They love their smartphone. It barely leaves their fingerprints, does it? So it's a perfect thing for them. Secondly, the monitoring of a thing improves the outcome of a thing. So whether that be actually, because the results from the scan box tell them whether or not they're allowed to move forwards. So that increases compliance. Secondly to that is the fact that if you have a personal trainer working with you, you do things better, right? It's all of those things. Secondly, the aggregation of big data from global monitoring allows the formation of accurate trend maps. What does that mean? It means that globally, DM is soaking up all of these facts about how people monitor and what kind of tissue types and bone density need to have more time with their aligners, and that affects things, okay? And they can build that into their protocols. And that's concept 3. The accurate remote monitoring allows a standardized protocol to be tailored, because guess what? Not everybody's the same. So if you have a 7-day changeover for an aligner, some people can do it quicker, some people can take longer because of things that are bespoke to them. Things like bone density, root torque, type of movement, length of tooth, lots of different factors play into it. So this allows that to be monitored and tweaked. We like being monitored, all right? Again, whether that be your Apple Watch telling you your heart rate, your Fitbit telling you your steps, we are used to it, we like it, we believe that the science improves us, it enhances us, all right? A couple of cool images on how the AI works. Well, it measures things, okay? It measures things, it forms a record, it detects teeth, it detects their position, and it does it for gingival position as well. So you're already starting to think, if it can spot OH and recession and inflammation, maybe there's a periodontal patient group that we could monitor that's completely outside the aligner world, but maybe there's a little group that would be worth monitoring that we normally bring in for reviews and assessment. Maybe that would improve their compliance. So here's a recession. What I'm loving with both the intraoral scanning and dental monitoring is the ability to give actual answers. Patients say, this recession's been there. You know, the 3 questions you get asked are my teeth moving? Am I wearing them still? Like if they're a bruxist, is my recession getting worse? And you don't know the answer, but now we do. And it's so nice to tell them, no, you're currently stable, or no, it is active, you therefore definitely need to wear this appliance or do this thing more, okay? So, and the point is this, like I say, these tools are not the future, they're there right now. So if we can have access to this and make us better at what we do easier, why wouldn't we be doing it? So let's have a consideration about multidisciplinary applications. So what about whitening patients? Could I give someone a scanner and then have them scan and then it would prove that they'd whitened their teeth and they didn't have to come back? Absolutely. Would they like that? Because the app would record the color change for them. So it would prove to them and vindicate things for them as well. What about perio? We've already covered that. That would be amazing. It would be able to monitor their oral hygiene, their inflammation, their recession, their tissue health. What about after extraction? Maybe post-surgical patients to monitor and assess healing. I've never seen a socket heal with my own eyes, but I could set up a scan frequency of every 2 days so I could actually watch a socket heal. That would be amazing. What about our implant patients? What about seeing tissue form around a transmucosal abutment or a temporary implant crown? What about detecting emergence profile around something and only bringing the patient back when I felt it was ready to take the second scans? That would also be invaluable. And then finally, our checkup patients. What about a cyclical monitoring of them so that they are continually under some sort of review? So there's aligner patients being monitored. So we've got the advantages of DM concept 1, if you monitor something, it improves the outcome. We've got the record keeping, don't forget. And I say that all of this stuff, if you were ever asked by your runner to justify how you carried out, why you carried out a treatment, was it consented properly, were you monitoring it effectively, it looks like you take your job seriously if you're using these tools. Perio patients we've covered. So the dental monitoring software app and Scanbox are so vast in its capabilities and applications as to be challenging to convey how game-changing it could be. So, you know, let's paint the picture of what it might look like if a practice went all in with DM. And let's face it, we're rebuilding our practices anyway, so why not do it with dental monitoring? So this is the very new checkup protocol that's been launched. So it can look at oral hygiene, presence of calculus, gingival inflammation and recession. It will note with the AI and tell you and the patient, if you set it up that way, to note decay, fracture or a lost filling. Imagine being alerted with artificial intelligence that your patient had new decay. And do you think there's a patient in your practice who wouldn't want to buy into that so they could be alerted immediately if they had new decay? It's just mind-blowing in my opinion. Oral pathology, okay, so if we look down the bottom of the right, you'll see that it can detect mucosal alterations and signs of aphthous stomatitis. So you could be alerted if it noted anything that was pre-pathology. Whitening need, slightly less important, but it can note colour. So if your teeth were discolouring, it could alert you of that. And tooth movement, which is important to a lot of post-orthodontic patients who are always concerned that the treatment they've had is starting to relapse at any point. So telling them that they could scan and it would tell them categorically of any movement is very important. So ongoing monitoring of checkup patients would create automated detection of issues needing intervention. This increases evidence-based opportunities for either upgrading plan types or offering treatment. So that's important. And again, COVID's taught us that we listen to science, don't we? And we listen to the advice given to us by scientific advisors. So patients love being told things by science. So if something they're using tells them categorically that they would benefit from more regular hygiene, for example, then they would be up for that. And it could eliminate and reduce the review appointment in its entirety. So I'm just going to apply all of those things to the checkup model, okay? And then we will wrap up. So the attendance of a patient to be assessed for a problem, only to leave and have the schedule seems a little archaic. Don't get me wrong. You know, you still need to have a face-to-face clinical examination, all right? But in between those appointments, when they then say, I've got a problem, and they come in to show you, maybe we can do better than that. And either with reference to existing intraoral scans or with something like DM, if you can see that issue, you can pre-treatment plan. And why is that important? because carrying out dentistry in the post-COVID world is now complex. And I need to know if the treatment that that patient's going to have is an AGP or not. And I'd like to know that in advance. And I'd like to then place that patient with the right clinician in the right session. Okay, so any tools we can use to have a better understanding of that. I don't want to just bring a patient in and then have to send him away again. Okay, so it makes far more sense to increase your ability to prepare and plan in advance. Pre is key. So what we're now adopting in our practice is, instead of the common 2 yearly checkup hygienes combined together, we're taking our 2 10-minute checkups and we're taking the second one and we're sticking it onto the other one, and we're giving a 20-minute dental health assessment. The big name for it is the digitally enhanced dental and oral health assessment. And in that appointment, we are taking an intraoral scan, and where appropriate, we're giving them dental monitoring. And then we are not seeing them for 12 months, but we are having them in a position where we can either digital triage or refer to their existing scans. And really, we're planning out the next 12 months of their oral health, and we're putting them with the right hygienist, with either a sonic scale under AGP conditions or a hand scale. And we're making those decisions in a very back to basics way, but digitally enhanced. So we're reinventing the way we monitor our patients, and we're gathering data to enable virtual treatment planning if needed. And we're uploading our entire patient base. Here are some intraoral scans to show you what we term gold standard digital records. So there you have it. So we have an annual clinical exam, 2 hygiene sessions, still 6 months apart, but either with continual DM monitoring, we've now got a continual and ongoing monitoring system. Who knows if that's 222nd, 21st century, but the tools are there and they're affordable, and they increase the efficiency of your bricks and mortar and your actual physical practice. So to close, we've covered gold standard digital triage, which will enable better and more comprehensive treatment planning of your existing patient base. It will enable the reduction or elimination of the face-to-face review appointment. It will free up the most expensive commodity in the post-COVID world, which is surgery space. And it may even create spare surgery space to enable practice to rotate the clinicians from one surgery to another, which is what we do, thus avoiding fallow time in its entirety. Covered all of those good ideas. How many hours could you rescue through the adoption of eliminating face-to-face reviews where they could be done digitally? Finally, I just made one of these cool mnemonics that says that this kind of tech gives you permission to change the status quo. It allows you to innovate, to create new ways of treating your patients better. It gives you ownership again, to be a leader and take ownership of your future. You know, you'll know by now after 60 minutes with me that I like to try and change the status quo and bring the profession forward. And I think tech gives you that ownership. It also allows you to realize the advantages it brings to your patients. You've seen all of these things are advantages for your patients. It lets me be an entrepreneur, and it's to take the opportunity given to us by COVID to redesign our businesses. Explore, we can take the untraveled path chart new directions, and finally realize the potential your business has when you embrace creativity. So little video just to close, guys, and then we'll open for some questions. I just want to say that COVID may have given us the ability to rebuild our dental practice. I know it's allowed me to. The kid on the right's COVID, the bricks are our practices. So for those of you who want to take a screenshot of that, that's how to get in contact with me. And then I'm going to hand over to Catherine to field the Q&A.
Hi there, Marcus. Thank you very
Catherine.
much. That was great. So we do have a few questions. Okay. So from Cam, I have 3 practices. Will I need to pay for SmileMate 3 times?
No, it's a single platform, so it's a monthly cost, and therefore the more it works for you, the better it is.
Perfect, thank you. Mo has quite a few questions here. So first of all, can we record the session?
Record my session? This session? Is that what he's asking?
Yeah, well, can we record the session, and then do we need a chaperone? And can we send a record base just on photographs sent in without having the virtual consultation? Does that make more sense now?
It nearly does. So I think it's, again, a question about just, how safe is digital? 2 things I want to answer that with, if that is what the question is. I remember my dad not being comfortable with contactless payments, all right? We're past that now, aren't we? I remember a generation not comfortable with payment via the internet. I think we're past that. And it's the same with anything, that there are cautions, but really, as I believe, they're all inevitable. We are moving in a direction, and as I sort of hope I stated about the safety thing. So always explore whatever app or platform you're using, make sure it is end-to-end secure. And then the main message, Mo, is just always go back to what you would do with the analog version of the process. All right. So has the patient consented to send those photos? Yeah. Are they comfortable with your practice seeing them, or just you? Just ask those questions. So if they were your dental photos of the patient in your hard drive up in the office, then who in your policies is allowed to access that? It's the same. So just have robust policies that state who's going to have access to it, and make sure the patient consents to whatever it is you're going to do with them.
Okay, so Mo has just clarified, it means the video consultations, can we record them? And also, how do we ensure that we have consent? Yeah,
so it's the same answer. So yes, I do record mine, and the way I have consent is I ask my very first question at the outset, either before or during, because if they said no, I'd stop recording. So ask for consent at the start, and once they give it, you're okay. And then make sure that wherever you're storing it is safe. And though it's a broader question, all our dental photography is kept on my iCloud account. So we have patient names and all albums, and that's where I store it.
Okay, so we have a question from Sean. Hi, Marcus. Thanks. Great presentation. Can I hire the camera team, and can you tell me about the finance? Do Braemar take a percentage or just credit check, and do you then take the risk of non-payment?
Thanks for the review. Yes, they are up for hire. And yeah, Braemar, great, been working with them for years. They'll help you set up your finance if you've not done so, and I can give you a contact for that. Yes, there's a sort of circa 10% fee, so confused customers don't buy. So we offer, one main package, which is 24 months interest free, which isn't, it's interest free to the patient. We pay 10%. But then they take responsibility for non-payment, which was, again, very helpful during COVID, because any of those kind of issues we deferred to the finance company.
And I think that is all the questions answered, Marcus. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Let me thank anybody who's watching and interested. And like I say, I really do like it when people get in touch afterwards. So screenshot this, and any bigger questions or any help you want implementing any of the things that I hope hurt your brain a little bit, I'm really happy to help you with. So other than that, see you again for another webinar, hopefully. All right.
Marcus, yes, thank you very much. And I hope you enjoyed it as well. Enjoy the rest of your day.